110 years ago, Americans walked everywhere, lived with their parents, and gave birth at home. There were only 8,000 cars in the US in 1915. There was almost nowhere to drive them. America had just 144 miles of paved roads. Still, automobiles were considered very dangerous. Most cities had speed limits of 12 miles per hour. A typical car cost around $2,000 in 1915. A gallon of unleaded gas was 15 cents. The vast majority of people walked everywhere. The average wage in 1910 was 22 cents per hour. The average American made between $200 and $400 per year. That's about $3,000 in today's money. There was no minimum wage. A loaf of bread cost 7 cents. A dozen eggs cost 34 cents. A quart of milk was 9 cents. A pound of steak was 26 cents. People spent about 13% of their annual income on clothing. These days, it's roughly 3%. In the early 1900s, only 8% of American households had a phone. Most people didn't even have running water. Only 14% of homes had a bathtub. In 1900, the literacy rate was only 10.7%. Only 6.4% of students graduated in 1900. Many children didn't attend school at all. Instead, they performed manual labor. They worked in factories and on their family farms. Even most doctors were undereducated. Around 90% of physicians had no college education. They went to substandard medical schools. This was reflected in statistics. About 95% of births took place at home. This remained true until the mid-1950s. The average life expectancy was very low. White Americans were expected to live to the age of 48. African Americans were only expected to live to 33. Most people didn't even live long enough to see their children get married. Almost 50% of Americans had lost one of their parents by 21. But the 1910s were also a time of great change. More people left rural areas for suburbs. Cities expanded thanks to the ease of travel, provided by buses and streetcars. City folk didn't have to walk to the office anymore. Retail stores and mail-order catalogs proliferated. Fewer Americans now made their own clothes and tools. Women increasingly left their roles as homemakers. They moved into the workplace. People also found time for new forms of amusement. A popular craze was the new card game of bridge. The Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus were sensations. Thousands of Americans went to these circus shows. The Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts were founded. These organizations soon became very popular. Expectations were high. Magazines predicted fast transatlantic travel. Automobile manufacturers promised cars would be cheaper. Imported foods were beginning to appear in grocery stores. The Roaring '20s were the dawn of the car era. Lots of new cars were being built. The decade saw massive highway construction. In 1927, Charles Lindbergh flew across the Atlantic. Predictions were coming true.